Welcome back to another episode here on Rotten Block. Now we're just heading down the path that I've been working on between the shopping district and the base. And just up here around the corner, you should see our base off in the distance. Now we are going to be spending quite a bit more time over there. I got some pretty big plans this episode, and yeah, we'll be back over there in a little bit. But we do have some chores that we got to get done, so let's take our new horse temporary and hitch them up here. And we're going to be extending this pathway and heading this way into the forest. Because back here in the clearing, this is where we are going to be hosting the giveaway. You know, the game that we opened up signups for last episode. And this is where we're going to be hosting it. So it's a game I really don't know what it's going to be about. And that's why I've been a little vague. Because I really don't know what it is. But I do have a goal that I think will be fun. And yeah, so we still have a little bit more work we got to do back here. We got to maybe smooth things out a little bit, remove these rocks, and maybe do a little bit of terraforming. So that's what I'm going to be doing for a little bit here. And I think once we get that done, we can move on. All right, I think this is good to go. I don't really want to do too much more just because I don't really know what things are actually going to look like. We did clean up things, we smoothed things out, did a little bit of terraforming, and yeah, I think we're good. And before I forget, we still have to get the road built. So now that our chores are done, we're going to make our way back to the base. And you can see we've done quite a bit of work over here between episodes. I've been just kind of working on terrain. We got a lot of the trees chopped down. Like it's pretty barren now. I think there's maybe still a little bit more work I want to do to get rid of the trees. Yeah, but we're almost there. And yeah, I've extended the road. It makes its way through the valley now. And if we just follow this road, I've built a road that goes over to Nats as well. But it cuts through our base first before it makes its way over to the shopping district. That way we kind of force force people to maybe visit our base if they are making their way over to the shopping district. But yeah, the road just kind of continues on. And yeah, we'll make our way back this way. But yeah, we are back at the base for this episode, and what we're going to be working on is a furnace array. Something I've been needing for a while. You know, last episode it would have been really handy to have, you know, for the big farm that we just built. I needed a lot of glass and a lot of stone, and it would have just been nice to have a furnace array to do that, or to make that stuff. Yeah, I've been saving this little nub here, and we have some plans to build a structure here. We have a building that's going to go down here, and yeah, we just need to start putting some materials together, and then we can start getting things built. So we're going to need a lot of bone block, and it's a good thing I've got a bone meal farm producing a lot of this bone meal. And now that I've got what I need, we're going to make our way home. And I'm really glad we built these last episode, because oh man, these have helped so much. And then we're gonna need a bunch of building materials. We need a bunch of smooth stone, which I don't have. And then a bunch of redstone stuff. And then the last thing we need to get is this terracotta. So last episode, I got a comment And Sean was basically asking if I could share the schematic of my bamboo farm that we built last episode. And I'm not sure how I feel about sharing my schematics at the moment, but I will definitely consider how I could potentially do that in the future. Now, I was considering maybe doing some tutorials, but I have tried to do tutorials in the past and I've just not really enjoyed it. So for now, I think what I'll do is, as I'm working on redstone, like we are about to do now, I will kind of build up a little bit of the redstone and try to describe what I'm doing and maybe go through the thought process of why I designed something in a certain way. I will say that the main constraint on the system here was mostly just a space constraint since we have a building going around a couple bits of redstone. The redstone was definitely confined to the space that I allotted. So over here we are going to build a fuel production system. We're going to be producing a lot of charcoal. That charcoal is going to get packaged into shulker boxes. Then the shulker boxes will get stored over here at the furnace array. And so whenever the system is being given some material, the fuel will then distribute through the furnace array. So I'm going to get the fuel production over here built up, and then we will come back and I will describe my thought process behind the design. All right, so I've done a little bit of work here, and before I move on, there's a little step that I kind of forgot about. So here are the furnaces that we will be feeding in the fuel, and the hoppers that feed in the fuel. I typically try to use an item that can't be used as fuel, and I fill up 4 of the slots. That way we don't have to wait for 5 stacks of like charcoal to fill each of these hoppers. So we can minimize the amount of charcoal that we actually feed into the furnaces if we take an item that can't be used as fuel and fill up 4 of these spaces. So I'm going to do this for all 6 of these hoppers here. Awesome. So we got the redstone done for the charcoal production, and we're going to start off over here. This is pretty basic. It's just a dropper. We feed in shulker boxes worth of logs. Then we press this button, which then feeds the shulker box into the shulker box unloader. Now this will place the shulker box automatically. Whenever the dispenser receives an item, this comparator will update, and then we power the note block. And then whenever this note block is powered, this observer will this observer will power the dispenser here and the note block here. And so whenever this note block is powered, it will actually update the piston here. So this piston will activate first, and then it'll place the shulker box. Now, whenever the shulker box is placed, this comparator here will turn off the torch. The piston there will retract, and then the logs will just filter into the chest boat that's there. Whenever the shulker box is emptied, this torch will turn back on, and then the observer is pushed back into place, powering the dispenser and the note block again, which will activate the piston, breaking the shulker box, and then it'll place another new shulker box with logs. And then the system will repeat until the system runs out of shulker boxes. Now, this is a little funky here. We are using a chest boat, and this chest boat, it's clipping through the block that's here. And we need this block here so we can lock the hopper that's here, so that when the shulker box is broken, it doesn't get sucked up by the hopper here and it makes its way into the barrels over there. So with this block here, we had to come up with a weird system here where the where the hopper points into the block, and because the chest boat clips with this block, the hopper can reach the chest boat. And so whenever it's off, whenever the hopper is unlocked, we can push an item through this block and it then gets picked up by the chest boat that's here. And that is the basics of the charcoal factory. And all we need to do now is get the furnace array built. Cool, so we got the furnace array done, and it might look a little intimidating, but it's really not that bad. So the shulker boxes of charcoal that we produce here, they get fed into a dropper tower that's here, and it's fed into another shulker box unloader. Eventually, things will get backlogged, and we'll have shulker boxes worth of charcoal in this chest here. So the charcoal that we feed into this system, it gets fed into a chest boat here that is lodged inside of a minecart. And whenever we start feeding material into the system, it will activate the rail that's below this minecart. And then the minecart will just go back and forth and fill in these hoppers with fuel. And we're just doing the same thing with the filter items. But then the next thing that happens as well is when we are putting material into the system, that comparator will also unlock or turn off this torch that's back here. That torch holds this pulse extender on, So when it turns off, this pulse extender, it slowly turns off. And eventually when it turns off, it'll turn this torch on, powering the piston. And this observer here gets pushed above the gate, opening the gate, allowing this minecart to move around the system. And then it'll return, drop down, and then it'll continue pulling items out and the system will repeat. So the reason we are using a pulse extender instead of measuring the contents of the minecart is because we are probably going to have like a variable amount of materials in the system most of the time. It's not going to be a consistent number of materials that we are putting into the system. So we don't want material to get stuck inside the system, so we use a pulse extender, which will eventually turn off no matter how much content is inside the minecart there. So this will eventually turn off, activating the gate or opening the gate, allowing whatever material is left inside the minecart to get distributed into the furnace array. Now we have 18 furnaces, and I believe in testing, I've not done a whole lot of testing, the minecart will pick up about 19 items before the gate opens. So we should be good. So yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of the redstone, and I think now's about time we start working on some of the pretty stuff. I think I did it. I think I finally achieved this real sci-fi vibe that I'm trying to go for. Yeah, it's looking, it just, man. I don't even know what to say. Like, this build just makes me so happy. I'm in love with it. But yeah, since the time lapse, I have been doing a little bit of work here, just detailing the area. And I'm kind of imagining like a rundown or overgrown road that used to run through here. We have street lights, we have just some patches of grass, and yeah. So for the build itself, I don't really know. When I was sketching things, I kind of just drew a cylinder, and I really didn't know what to do at the top of it. But when I started working on this in creative, I don't know, the roof just kind of came together, and it kind of reminds me of BB-8 a little bit. But yeah, I think everything here is just looking really good right now. I don't think I want to touch it for the time being. I think everything is just working so well right now, so I don't want to do too much more. Yeah, this is meant to be a fuel tank, so that's why we got like a window here, and we can see the fuel maybe sloshing around on the inside there. And over here, this is where we come and drop off the shulker boxes of logs, and you can hear it clicking in there, and that means it's working. It's doing what it needs to be doing. Yeah, the thing that I spent the most time on was probably covering up the furnace right here. I really didn't want to go for the gas station look, and so I was just trying a bunch of different things. But once I decided to really embrace the gas station look, I came up with this little design. I found like an image on Pinterest. Yeah, this is basically what the image looked like, and it's really what brings the whole build together. And yeah, I'm just so happy with this. And then I haven't really even talked about the mountain in the background. This is the thing that I've been like imagining going in over here for like a long time. I designed this before these two things. Yeah, it just, man, it just looks so good. It looks exactly like what it needs to. And so for the mountain, I did take inspiration from like the mountains in Utah, this large, tall sandstone structures. This is meant to be similar to those. And I definitely want to get more of these structures in place. I have left a couple other patches of dirt where I do plan on maybe adding some more of these structures. And this is probably one of my favorite views of the mountain. Just along the path, oh man, it just looks so good. Oh, I'm stuck. Yeah, you can see through the trees there. They frame the mountain. Everything about this build, it turned out perfectly. I'm so happy with this. And if we head towards the giveaway, we'll get another look at it just here at the end of the path. We look back, yeah, it's like some faraway land with just amazing mountains. All right, so I want to do a pretty bulky test here. I did test it a little bit with some kelp earlier. I want to try to do a shulker box worth of content. And we're going to take the whole shulker box, make our way into the inside here. Because what I want to do for this first test is to show you guys how this actually works. So we're going to dump the material into this barrel here, and it's going to start filling up the hopper minecart there. And when it starts doing that, this comparator is going to turn on. It's going to power the rail down there, pushing the minecart across. And I mean, there's already a lot of fuel in here because I've already done a test here. But that's what it's going to do. It's going to move across. All right, so let's get the sand in there. We're going to dump it in and then quickly try to access the hopper cart here. Dump it in. See, it's going to take a little bit. Should go up to maybe 19 items, 18 or 19. Ooh, that's a little less. Yeah, okay. It made it here. But maybe on this next one? It's not perfect, but yeah, okay. It looks like maybe now. There we go. I think it's about every other time it goes around, it'll probably miss out on this guy. There it goes. And around. And back. Cool. And it's going to keep doing that until this is empty. And we already have over a stack here, so that's pretty nice. So I think it'll take about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more since it's not quite working perfectly. It's still pretty good for like a shulker box worth of contents with a furnace rate at this size.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, how's it going? Whoa,
Good.
this base is so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
I love
looking
it.
it's looking really nice.
I agree. It's a style I haven't really seen before, so that's always really fun. I love this feels very I don't know. The rounded shapes are cool.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's always a little bit harder in Minecraft.
Yeah. All right. Well,
How's it going?
I need you to do something.
Okay.
Can you fly over to Nats?
Are they just over the hill that way?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
I've got a path that you can maybe follow that goes in that direction.
Sure.
You see this path? Yeah, just go that way.
Okay. See you then. Like,
Bye.
hello.
Well, that was disappointing.
I'm confused as to what I was supposed to see. Yeah.
You weren't supposed to see anything. Earlier today when I
Mm.
was over there collecting some, what is it? The kelp from her ocean over there.
Mhm.
I crashed twice,
Oh gosh.
and
That's
I thought it was
so
a corrupted chunk, and I just wanted to
I
test
see.
if that's really what it was.
Cool.
So Yeah, I need to go test that again, I guess.
You basically just, I feel like you did the equivalent of like putting a helmet on my head and shoving me into war and just said good luck. You're like, I don't know. It's
Basically.
testing, it's science.
I mean, Renee was
Well, I'm
supposed
glad
to
I could
pop
help.
on and do the test for me, but he never did.
Uh I see.
But you
So
popped on first.
I'm second. Renee is what I've heard. Then is that if Renee is not around, I'm also the guinea pig that's gonna.
If you want to be second, Renee, I probably would have
Oh
done
man,
this for anyone.
that's funny.
So Bray and I did manage to narrow down the problematic chunk over at Nats. So looking back through the crash reports, I found the coordinates and the specified Y range in which the problem was happening. And it looked like the problem had something to do with the translucent textures, and Mojang has been doing quite a bit of work in the background, trying to move away from OpenGL into Vulkan. So I'm sure something there had happened. So because this had something to do with textures, we kind of narrowed down the issue to the sodium mod. And so I downgraded and was eventually able to enter the problematic chunk. And what I found was a Moss farm that did not have an off switch. So we can thank Nat for not having an off switch on her Moss farm. And since this was an issue with sodium, Brave reached out to the sodium maintainers, and one of them had asked if they could join the server so that they could run their debug tools to figure out what the problem was, because they have been having this problem for a few weeks, and we were the first to be able to reproduce the problem and to actually really help them figure out how to fix this. And it sounds like they figured out what the problem was, and it sounds like they are currently working on a release for the fix. But the maintainer that we had pop onto the server, they played along with us and allowed us to take their head. So Bray and I each have a head, and I was going to take one of these heads, and we're going to head over to Nats. I'm going to grab a item frame first, and maybe a sign. Let's grab some white dye, and maybe some of this beeswax or the honeycomb. And then let's take temporary all the way over to Nats, because I don't think I've done that yet. And then we are going to say thank you for your services to this server. And done. And we're going to color that. I'm kind of hoping she has some blue ink. Yes. Awesome. Boom. And wax. Now, this wasn't actually Nat's fault. This could have happened to any one of us running a farm. It is just a little weird that she didn't have a off switch to her farm and that it was running 24/7. All right, so before we start wrapping up this episode, I just want to point this advertisement out. I sold Jolly a shulker box worth of iron block not that long ago, and then like the next day he opens up this iron bucket shop, and yeah. I did do the math. I think he at least had to use 13 and a half stacks of iron block to make the amount of buckets that he is trying to sell. What Jolly doesn't know, though, is that next episode I am planning on opening up an iron shop. And I plan to sell more than just iron. We are going to be selling iron products as well, which include the buckets he is trying to sell. So yeah, he is definitely going to have a little bit of competition coming soon. I have been trying to figure out what to say about this build for a little bit now, and yeah, I still don't know what to say. I really love it. I think everything about this build has just come together so well, and yeah, I still can't stop staring at like the gas station, like the pumps here. It worked so well. It looks exactly like I intended it to. Yeah. I just love this build so much. I'd like to give a shout out to Sean for being a great viewer of mine, always leaving great comments on my stuff, giving me great feedback. And if you want to be like Sean, he is the only member of my open Discord community, so be like him, join, help grow the community. And there's not much going on out there at the moment, but I think as the community grows, we'll slowly figure out what to do. And if you enjoyed this episode, leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think of this new build. And I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.